Hey guys, welcome to your channel. We are going to discuss some objective current affairs questions from art and culture sections. These questions are equally important for mains exam. So while you are reading the questions, you can also gather the concept for mains exam. You will find the answers in the comment and description box. The topic here we are going to pick up today is mainly land grant in ancient India. So let's proceed to the questions. Question number 1. The transition of ancient India into medieval India is a combination of many factors. Which of the following statement correctly point out this transition? We all know that there are various factors which contributed to transform ancient India into medieval India, and land grant system is one of them, because the result of the land grant which developed in ancient India contributed to the rise of feudalism, and feudalism is a very particular or prominent factor in medievalism, right? So the question is asking that which of the following statement correctly points out this transition phase. Option A, undermining the power of king by the existing land revenue system. Well, before the land grant became prevalent in society, king was the ultimate power, right? But when king began to grant land to the beneficiaries, then the king also granted some other related benefits, right? Like gradually the king transferred the police power, free tax to the land beneficiary. And as a result of this, the landowner, the land beneficiary began to control. Right, in this way, this decentralization began in the administrative process, and gradually, on the verge of time, the king was going to lose his power. So, option A is correct. Option B, a growing conflict between beneficiaries of land and real cultivators of land. This is also correct, because when a particular person became the owner of land with some kind of immunities, he began to control the cultivators of land. Though the landowner was not the real cultivator, but he controlled the whole area of land. And in this way, we have seen a conflict between the beneficiaries of land and the real cultivators of land, and both these aspects are related with feudalism, which is an integral factor of medievalism. So both the options are correct. Question number 2. Which of the following tribal effect does seem to be imposed by new feudatory system 6th century onwards? We have seen that till 6th century, the king only granted land to particular persons like Brahminiya temple. But on the 6th century onwards, the king began to grant land to the administrative officers also in return of salaries and other remuneration. Right. So as a result of this, land grant became very prevalent, and it brought some changes to the concerned society also. So which of the tribal effect does seem to be imposed by new feudatory system 6th century onwards? Option A. Many of the tribal people were placed under religious beneficiaries as cultivators. This is true. Right. When the land was granted to administrative officers, when land was granted to Brahmins, or when land was granted to any royal persons, he gradually controlled this land. And as a result of this, he became so influential that he ordered the persons living that area to cultivate on that land. So option A is correct. Option B, the sharecroppers and peasants were prevented from leaving their own cultivated land, thus preventing much mobility. This is also correct. So both the options are correct in regard to the question number 2. Question number 3. Choose the correct statement regarding the evolution of land grant in ancient India. Option A, the practice of land grant arrived in Maurya period. This is not totally correct, because before Maurya period also, we have even in Vedic period also, right, in Mahabharata also, right, we have found the evidences of land grant. So option A is not necessarily correct. Option B, the first epigraphic evidence of land grant is found in Gupta period. This is wrong, because the first epigraphic, keep in mind that the first epigraphic evidence of land grant is found in only Satavahana period. Option C, the process of granting land to administrative officers in return of service began in Gupta period. This is also not totally correct. Right. Because the process of granting land to administrative officers in return of service began only 6th century onwards, but you can say towards the later period of Gupta period. But if we exactly say Gupta period, this is not correct. It is towards the end of the Gupta period. Yeah, you can say Gupta period onwards. Right. This is not totally correct. So no, none of the options is correct here. Question number 4. Which of the following justify the administrative changes in land grant process in post-Gupta period? Right. Question option A. The land grant was initiated to administrative officers in lieu of remuneration and salaries. I have already told you that in later Gupta period or post Gupta period, we have seen that instead of granting land only to Brahmins, the king began to grant land to other administrative officers also. That is why option A is correct. Option B. The beneficiaries of land were handed over taxation, police, and all governing powers of that land. This is also correct. I am already telling you that as soon as time proceeds, the king began to transfer all the powers related to the king, like collecting taxes, controlling crimes. These powers were handed over to the beneficiaries of land in post-Gupta period. That's why option B is also correct. Option C. Government officials and royal retainers were not allowed to enter such areas. This is also correct. Option D. The law books of the 6th century recommended that services should be rewarded in land. This is also correct. Because literature, it is an example. Option D is an example of that literature is the reflection of society, because what is happening in society, land grant was prevalent and land grant was going to change all the administrative structure and social structure in society. That is why literature was written in consonance with the existing society, existing rules. Right, so all the options are correct. Question number 5. Choose the correct match. Gopati. This is a Vedic term to indicate the owner of cattle, correct? Bhupati, used in Gupta period to indicate owner of land. Both the options are correct. Question number 6. Which of the following indicate the necessary changes in social structure caused by land grant system in post-Gupta period? Always keep in mind that UPSC has a tendency to ask questions from history relating society. History is a contemporary version of society. That is why this kind of questions are very important for UPSC exam. So what the question is asking? The question is asking that land grant system and its social consequences in post-Gupta period. Option A. The Vaishyas who were free peasants were reduced to the position of Shudra. This is correct because a change in Varna structure happened. Because when the much more land was granted to beneficiaries, their new kind of new land began to be cultivated. And as a result of this, more people, more laborers, more cultivators were needed. And that is why cultivation became a prominent occupation at that time, and the position of Vaishyas who were mainly related with commerce till that time were involved in cultivation. And this is also one point that because of this reason we have seen that whenever land grant became prevalent in ancient India in post-Gupta period, we have seen that there is a declining trend in trade and culture. This is one of the reasons. Right, so option A is correct. The Vaishyas who were free peasants were reduced to the position of Shudras. Means Shudras and Vaishyas both were involved in cultivation in this period. Mainly, I'm not telling you that all the Vaishyas were involved in cultivation. Right, there were some portion of trade and culture also. Right, but many. Option B. As per the Brahmir's prescription, it seems that social power was determined by the possession of land. This is also correct. And this option B is also an example that literature is a reflection of society. These objective options are very important for mains exam. From here, you can gather points for mains, or you can refer such points to your answer, showing that the literature is the contemporary reflection of society, history, etc. Right. So both the options are correct here. Question number 7. Which of the following signify the correct impact of land grant in later Gupta period? Option A, decentralized administration. Correct. I have already told you that how decentralized happened. Gradually, King began to land grant, he also handed over some powers, royal powers, to that landed beneficiary, and in that way, power became transferred from the hand of the king to the landed beneficiary partially. Question option B, decline of Indian export while increasing of Indian import for horses from Persia. This is also correct because horses become a part of the medieval India, and it is also an important factor of feudalism, right? Because it is a symbol of status and power to control other beneficiaries, right? There are various conflicts happen among the landlords, or you can say among the barons, right? Conflict among the barons is a particular feature of beneficiary. If you go to the history of the European history, and if you see there the conflict among the baron, right? Anyway, horses became a power of symbol and status, and that is why import of horses increased in this time. But we have seen a declining trend of export from India. Means there is a declining graph of trade and commerce in India in this period. Rise of feudalism, correct. Changes to tribal setup, correct. Spread of agriculture, this is also correct. And changes in burner system, correct. Question number 8. Choose the word which is not directly related with land grant. Agrahara, Brahmodeya, Devadana, Visti. The fourth option is not directly related with land grant because Visti means forced labor. Though forced labor is somehow reflected or found in feudalism, where barons forced the laborers, but you cannot say it is directly related to land grant. First, second, or third term has been particularly related to land grant. So I hope you have enjoyed these objective sessions. Keep in mind that while you are viewing the video, while you are reading the questions, read the questions from mains perspective also. So I will again come again with another video regarding art and culture or another objective questions. So till then, take care of your study, take care of your health, and bye bye.